or direction over, to dominate, to command. What's holding you back? Is it fear of the unknown or fear of the known? What's stopping you from taking charge of your life? In 5 minutes, there should be no more hesitation as Reid lifts you out of complacency. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you Reid Manchester.
Two politicians walk into a bar. You know it's going to go bad from here, right? Anything that starts with two politicians isn't going to be good. Two politicians go to a pep rally. Two politicians come to a Toastmaster meeting. It doesn't really matter. In this case, two politicians walked into a bar. And this bar has been around since the time of our forefathers. It has a long tradition of quality beer, great service, camaraderie, and people really enjoy it. And the politicians likewise enjoy the bar. In fact, so much so that they decide to buy the bar. But of course, their management technique differs from normal management technique, as you could imagine. And before long, they're paying their suppliers later and later. They're watering down the beer. Coasters are no longer free. And they start charging for bathroom visits. As you can imagine, the patrons start to decide this isn't such a great watering hole after all, and they take their business elsewhere. Now, doesn't this sound just a little bit like America today? Doesn't this sound totally plausible? And politicians are only one of the things that I fear. But before I get into what makes me nervous, what makes me feel powerless the way that politicians do, I want to hear from you. What kinds of things steal your feeling of control, your feeling of self-direction? Any ideas? What makes you feel powerless?
When I don't trust someone.
When you don't trust someone. I think criticism. That's my favorite. Anything else?
Multiple rules and regulations.
Okay. Well, here's a couple of things that make me nervous. Recognize this guy?
Yes.
He makes me feel powerless. Why? Because he wants to rain down nuclear weapons on America. And I don't have any control over that. That bothers me. Yeah, I don't know if we have a strategic missile defense initiative, whether Reagan ever followed through with that. This guy makes me very nervous. I mean, supposedly he has at his fingertips a number of financial instruments that he can apply that have a direct effect on how you and I live our lives. And I don't have any control over that. This is something that scares me, but I don't have to worry about it too much because these guys won't lend me any money. And why won't these? I really hate these guys. But why won't they lend me any money? Because these guys tell them not to. And I don't have any control over that whatsoever. I don't want to be like Fox News and come here today and scare you. Ooh, the sky is falling. You don't have any control. I want to do exactly the opposite. I'm here today to tell you that you are in control of your destiny, your future. We are not pawns to be manipulated by some elite ruling class of billionaires, nor elected officials. A great story of success and control that I like is from my mentor, Tony Robbins. He tells a story of being Wonder Boy in his early 20s, having made a large amount of money, and then having had it taken from him. And he was living in a 500 square foot apartment, washing his dishes in the bathtub. But 1 year later, he redeemed himself. A year later, he was living in his dream home, a mansion of 10,000 square feet on the ocean. 1 year later. He took control of his life and his destiny. And it goes to show you with that story exactly how powerful that control can be. 1 year. But let me tell you a story that's a little closer to home. My story. 3 years ago, I moved back to Orlando with next to nothing. My personal nest egg shrank from this to this. Can anyone tell me what uranium mining stocks have to do with the real estate bubble? Because I cannot. I moved here with no money, a few friends, and a boatload of depression weighing down on me. Serious depression. Anxiety that caused me to not get a job. I couldn't go and speak to people without sweating profusely and saying exactly the wrong thing. It made it impossible to get an interview, and if I got an interview, it was a complete and utter disaster. But I reached bottom. Have you ever reached bottom in your life? I reached the bottom of my life. And it's quite an amazing place, because when you reach bottom, there's only one way to go. And I decided at that point, I made a decision. I will not be at the whim of other forces. I will not let my brain run away with itself. I will take control of my life and my destiny. And when I did that, I started to read books on depression, the science of happiness, the science of depression, how to overcome anxiety. I practiced hypnosis, and I rid myself of that problem so that I could stand before you today, look you in the eye, and not have pee running down my leg. As a result, I went from 0 job offers in a year to 2 job offers in 1 week. Wow. I picked the job that was the easiest job. Because that allowed me to spend extra time on building my future. I will never be able to retire having been wiped out at age 40. So I need to do something creative. I went on a year-long educational exercise. I joined the local Central Florida Real Estate Investors Association and spent that year learning everything I could about real estate. I decided that what I wanted was to build a future for myself that was away from, insulated from, the macroeconomic forces, the things that other people could do to me. And I'm pleased to report back to you today to say that I have control over my life. In the last couple of weeks, I've closed a couple of deals, and I'm going to tell you about them. I closed a deal that is $500,000, 7-unit apartment complex.
Great.
But that's not the impressive part. I did it with not a single dollar out of my pocket. It brought me money right away. It brings me money over the next 5 years. But what's really beautiful about this deal is that I'm able to bring others into these investments and pay them a secure, a very, very good rate of return. In this case, 16% annualized.
Wow.
And it's based on a piece of real estate that, yes, it could go down in value if we were to have a giant market collapse. But if 2 of the 7 units remain vacant, it would still be cash flow neutral. Wow. So far, I've sold 12 shares in that corporation. I have another deal in the works for $1.55 million. Now, I don't want to get into too much puffery here. But I really love being able to take control of my destiny and help people take control of theirs. There's nothing like the high of taking control over that destiny, except perhaps giving up control of that destiny to a higher power. As I look around the room, I see a number of people who have taken control of their destiny. Scott, Jim, Laura, absolutely, a lot of people who have. Even Thomas has taken control despite his mental inability. It shows that anyone can do it. I'm here this morning to tell you that I did it. And I want you to stand toe-to-toe with your fears and take control of your life. Thank you very much.